Bill doesn't get the pastor's discount and get an extra 30 seconds here, so let's get him on the clock and have at it, man.
Thank you, Pastor Ryan. Well, we are looking at David this month, and he is one of my heroes of the Bible. And it's incredible, though, when you start to look at David, and if you've paid any attention to his life whatsoever, you know, we have this description. In fact, history sort of logs who David is. As in the biblical narrative, David is a young shepherd who gains fame first as a musician, and then later by killing the enemy giant champion Goliath. He becomes the favorite of King Saul and a close friend to Saul's son Jonathan. At one point, worried that David is trying to take over his throne, Saul turns on David. And after Saul and Jonathan are killed in a battle, David is anointed as king. David conquers Jerusalem. I mean, he does great feats, taking the Ark of the Covenant into the city and establishing the kingdom founded by Saul. Then in the midst of this incredible story comes the first big fall. And it always reminds me of how human we really are, no matter what we do. It says, as king, David commits adultery with Bathsheba. But it doesn't stop there, leading him to arrange the death of her husband Uriah the Hittite. He arranges a murder. You say, well, how is it possible? I mean, this story just going along so good, and then it just goes off the rail. What happens to us when we run off the tracks like that? How is it that we have such good periods, we're walking along, we're serving God, and then all of a sudden we stumble. Something happens. Something comes along. Well, Tuesday, several of us, Zahar and Brant and I, went to Chillicothe Correctional Institute and took part in a worship service with about 12 men who are all serving time under the death penalty. These men did something like what David did, but they were caught. And here they are. They have a date on a calendar that is circled upon which they will be put to death. They're men of all ages, from the age of 30 on up through 70. And they have this destiny that seems crazy to us. But you know what? You and I have that same destiny. And for you and I, we have to keep in mind what Psalm 51, the heart of David, when he said, "Have mercy on me, O God, according to your unfailing love, according to your great compassion, blot out my transgressions, wash away all my iniquity, and cleanse me from my sin, for I know my transgression, and my sin is always before me." And then in verse 10 he says, "Create in me a clean heart, O God, and renew a steadfast spirit within me."